Hi, and welcome to Don't Just Cook with Robert Steven Munoz. Today we're going to do something a little different. A good friend of ours, Jorge and Sean have been friends for several years. I won't age them. Is having a birthday party / housewarming party. Now, Jorge is an amazing fashion designer here in Los Angeles, and he's also great at home decorating and home furnishings. So I wanted to put something extra special together for him. I wanted to welcome in the fall season. So I thought, well, what can I do to make everything a little special? Because, you know, when you move into a new house, especially at this time of the year, you might not have time to really capture the essence of the changing of the season. So I'm going to do a pumpkin themed welcome basket. So I'm going to make some pumpkin butter. I'm going to make some pumpkin scones. And then I picked up a few, little necessities for around the house. Got some cute kitchen towels. I know his color palette already, so that helped, nice and neutral. This amazing serving tray that has a built-in little bowl. Look at this beautiful vanilla pumpkin candle with the velveteen finish. So I'm gonna pop that into there. Can you believe I found a maple syrup with glitter? Who wouldn't love some morning waffles with a little sparkle in the morning to brighten your day? We're gonna pop that in there. I found this fall vibe soap. Smells amazing. The soap and the maple syrup I picked up at World Market. World Market's such a great place to shop this time of the year to pick up all your seasonal goodies. And then we're going to, like I said, make the pumpkin scones. So I'm just trying everything out here to make sure everything's gonna fit. I found this beautiful little jar. So we're gonna put the pumpkin butter in that jar. I found this great kind of newsprint looking fabric. As a fashion designer, I know he would appreciate a really cool and unique fabric pattern. So we're gonna pop that all in there. Got him a cute little card, but this basket's not gonna be complete until we fill that jar with that pumpkin butter and we fill that box with the scones. So I'm gonna finish up my pumpkin spice latte and get into the kitchen and start roasting those pumpkins. Because to make pumpkin anything, you need some pumpkin puree first. So dale. Let's get into the kitchen. All right, well, we gotta make the pumpkin puree if we're gonna make homemade pumpkin butter. So we're gonna get started. I went ahead and picked out some pie pumpkins or sugar pie pumpkins. It depends where you're at and what they're called. A smaller pumpkin is always going to yield a little bit more flavor and a little bit more richness. So you want to look for pie pumpkins, sugar pumpkins, or the winter luxury pumpkins. I'm here in Southern California. It's a little early for pumpkin season for us here in Southern California. The pumpkins are just starting to come in, so I didn't have a huge variety to choose from, but these are a steadfast option. I've already got my oven heating up to 375 degrees. I've got a cooking sheet here lined with some parchment paper. I went ahead and laid down some newsprint paper to make cleanup easier. And here's where you have two options as well. You could cut your pumpkins open and clean out the seeds and save those seeds if you want to roast them. It takes a little time, takes a little patience, and it gets a little messy. Or if you're not gonna roast the pumpkin seeds, if you're not gonna deal with that at all, then you could just leave the seeds in while your pumpkins are roasting, because guess what? They're gonna be super easy to scoop out when they're done. So I've got a big sharp knife. So what I'm gonna do first is I'm actually going to cut the top off. Wow. And now we're just gonna cut it right in half. This pumpkin's a little on the tough side. Here we go. Now we got it. Voila. So I am going to go with the easy method of just roasting the pumpkins with the seeds inside. Truth be told, I've tried roasting pumpkin seeds before. It's not my jam. It just didn't work out for me. So I'm going to forego that. So I'm gonna put those aside for now. And I'm gonna cut my other two pumpkins open. Oh, this little one's nice and tender. So we're gonna cut the top off. That popped out. And then we're gonna cut this this in half. Voila. Smells good. Notice I'm always like smelling everything. Okay, now this next step is a little optional. I like it. I think it works. I think it adds to it because I have done this before. So I am going to add a little bit of sea salt to my pumpkins on the flesh side. And I am gonna add a dash of cinnamon. And I'm gonna put it like mostly where the seeds are, because I want this to release a little fragrance into the pumpkins, but I don't necessarily want to season the pumpkin with cinnamon. So I'm gonna put it where the seeds are, because that's gonna get scooped out and thrown out later. But while it's roasting, it's gonna release some of that flavor. So we're gonna stick these in the oven, like I said, at 375. It's gonna take about 50 to 60 minutes, depending on how many pumpkins you're using, what you're gonna do with it. So we're gonna get these in the oven. This is pretty much all there is to it. Once you see the skin start to curl up and look softer, that's when they are ready to come out. I think we got just enough room on here for all these guys. I might have to cut this one in half to get it to fit right. Like a little puzzle here. There we go. So we're gonna stick these in, and then once they're done roasting, we're gonna go ahead and let them cool so they're cool to the touch. We're gonna scoop them out, stick them in a food processor, and voila, you have pumpkin puree. Once you've done that, you could save it in a jar for several days in the refrigerator, or you could freeze it in ice cube trays to use it to make your pumpkin soups or to add to any of your favorite baking recipes, which, by the way, if you are going to use this homemade pumpkin puree for baking, you're definitely going to want to strain it either through a cheesecloth or through a fine mesh strainer. You could just set it out in the strainer over a bowl, let it sit for about an hour till all that extra water releases, because you don't want to ruin your baking recipes. In fact, I'm going to make the pumpkin butter with these roasted pumpkins and then pumpkin scones. So let's get these in the oven so we can get going. Well, I think those pumpkins are about ready to come out of the oven. So let's go get them. Mira eso. Look at that. Check that out. Oh my God. That smell smells so good. So yummy. So now we definitely have to wait for these to cool, because there's no way you could touch these, but you could see, look how easy that skin just pops. So the pumpkin's all nice and soft and moist inside. So the first thing we're gonna do when they cool, we're gonna scoop out the seeds, put them in a bowl. We're gonna put all the meat into our blender and get a nice puree going. And we are going to have plenty of pumpkin puree. We could make pumpkin raviolis, we can make pumpkin pie, we can make our pumpkin butter, we can make our pumpkin scones. I could make pasteles de calabaza. That is a pumpkin pastry. So sky's the limit. Once you have your roasted pumpkins ready to go, I can even make some pumpkin soup. I love a good roasted pumpkin soup. Some little pumpkin seeds and olive oil on top, yum. All right, so now just gotta wait for these to cool. I'll see you in a little bit. Hi, here we are. I believe our pumpkins have cooled off. So now it's time to get them into the blender and get a puree. But before we do that, we're going to have to clean out the seeds. Super easy. We're just gonna take a bowl, a big spoon, and because we cooked them, look at that. Look how easy this just pops right out. So good, so easy. Yeah. Easy peasy. Let's open this blender up. And then we're just gonna scoop the meat out and we're gonna plop it right into there. Got that fleshy part of these pumpkins ready to go. So yummy, so hearty. You know, there's so many great enzymes and vitamins and nutrients inside, you know, pumpkins and squashes. So it's definitely something that's good for you. I just did a pumpkin enzyme mask recently. I love the Peter Thomas Roth pumpkin enzyme mask. It's so good. Clears your skin up, makes it look so smooth and glowing and nice. And yeah, and pumpkin's known, whether you're eating it or masking with it, pumpkin's known for helping make the skin glow. So I'm gonna go ahead and continue to clean out these pumpkins and get all the flesh inside the mixer. Okay, we are down to our last half of pumpkin. You see how nice and brown the skin got and how it like kind of blistered up a little bit. That's how you know it's done. I also poked it with a fork to make sure that it was nice and tender before I took them out of the oven. And you can see I've filled my blender. I have a bowl. So I've definitely got lots and lots and lots of pumpkin flesh here to make lots of great things. PSA to anyone out there that makes candles, I still have not been able to find a fall pumpkin spice candle that I like that really captures the essence of what this is smelling like right now. I know some of them, I guess they're just too synthetic smelling to me. They just don't have that same essence. I guess I just have to keep roasting pumpkin in my house and getting my own pumpkin scent going from the real thing cooking. All right, we got lots of pureeing to do, so we're just gonna put it in your food processor or a blender. My food processor isn't big enough to blend this amount of pumpkin. I'm just gonna put this on puree and let it rip. Okay, our first batch is done. We're gonna do this in a couple of batches because we don't want to overcrowd the blender and burn out the motor. But you can see, look at that golden, delicious, creamy, silky, smooth pumpkin puree we have. You know, for your mothers out there or anyone with a child, this is how you can make some baby food as well. Pumpkin's so good for babies. And for your dogs, when your dogs are sick of their stomach, a little of this pumpkin puree mixed in with their food is gonna help them with their stomach. This and a little boiled chicken is good for the bellies of a sick little fur baby. All right, so we're gonna get that blender back on and get our next batch going. Looks like the last batch of our roasted pumpkin is ready. So we are all set. We've got all of that pumpkin, golden, silky, delicious goodness ready to go. And just keep in mind, this will darken in color because I know you're probably thinking, well, I've had pumpkin soup before and I've had pumpkin pie before and I've had other pumpkin things that are usually kind of orangey or brownish, not this beautiful gold. But that comes from the spices, the seasoning, as well as the cooking of the actual pumpkin puree. Once it's cooked down, it's going to darken and richen in color. But this is its truest, most natural and organic form. And how easy was that? It's like, seriously. We washed our pumpkins, we cut them up, put them on a cookie sheet, stuck them in the oven for an hour, let them cool off, scraped out the meat, threw it in a blender, and look at all this that we have. My mind is racing with like so many of ideas of what I can make with pumpkin. But the first thing we're gonna make is we are going to make that pumpkin butter. So I'm gonna clean up this mess, gather my ingredients, and we are gonna get ready to make that pumpkin butter. All right, don't go too far.